All right. No more beach. No more dicking around. We're back to work now.
Yay.
So, Josh, I've been getting a bunch of questions on TikTok. It's been a while. So, I just want to run through. A lot of these were questions asked multiple times. So, they're
Okay.
the ones I kind of lumped together. I
Sure.
figured there's probably a bunch of guys that did. Now, some of them, like, let's just take this first question here. Been on TRT for 2 years, and then all of a sudden in the afternoon or sometimes all day, I'm really tired. Now, that question was asked, I wrote it down 5 times in
Okay.
some form or fashion, but not obviously everyone wasn't on for 2 years. Some guys were on for a certain amount of time, some guys were on for a year, whatever it is. But this one here was he's been on for 2 years and just gets now he's like getting tired all the time, or specifically in the afternoon, he
Okay.
started getting tired. So what
Um,
what do you think that is?
could be a couple things. I want to preface. I think people tend to put too much emphasis on testosterone and
Mm,
not enough emphasis on other things that can cause issues, right? Um, we know that testosterone helps with a myriad of things. We've obviously talked about it, you know, through the roof. But the if you're on testosterone and you develop fatigue and your levels are okay, it's not the testosterone. So at that point, it's got to be something else.
yeah.
A couple things that I would look into in that case: one, thyroid. We would certainly look there. Two, ferritin. Okay, that gets overlooked quite a bit. You use ferritin to create red blood cells, so and if we know testosterone is going to increase the rate at which you produce red blood cells via erythropoietin, you're going to eat up some of that ferritin and use it. So, kind of looking into that because that can make people extremely tired. I have one patient that's actually kind of comical. Super nice guy. Um, Comes back first follow up, and I get his hemoglobin hematocrit. It's like way low. I'm like, whoa, did you like give blood? And he was like, yeah, my friend told me I had to on this stuff. I was like, no, you don't.
Before his first follow-up?
Yeah. He was like, I feel
Jesus.
terrible. And I was like, I bet you do.
Yeah.
He's like, I feel so washed out. I'm like, well, how many? And he did like the double red, or like they like pack it and then give you back your plasma. So like he had all these red
Jesus
blood cells
Christ.
checked out.
Oh,
And I was
nothing
like,
like before your very first uh
who told you that? He's like, well, a buddy of mine. I was like,
yeah.
you do realize you're paying me to manage. It's like,
Right. You haven't
you
even
can
had a
just message me.
so you just started. You're like, what is it? 6 to 8 weeks before you come back
It's
and
it's 10 weeks we do our
okay,
follow
10
up.
weeks. So
And
before
but
that,
you're right, and you're only on
he's already
TRT for about
donating
8 weeks
blood.
at that point. Yeah, and
Right.
I'm like, oh my god. So obviously I educated him, told him
Yeah.
what was going on. I actually had to put him on an iron supplement, chelated iron, bisglycinate for a little while, and um to get him back up, and then we took him off him, and he's been fine. And he's like, yeah, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
Like,
That'll
yeah,
do it.
it's probably. I'm. And here's the thing: if we're going to talk about blood donation, sidebar here, I'm okay if people want to do it, for philanthropic reasons, like
Hmm.
hey, maybe you really want to donate because it's like your civic duty or whatever. If you do that, I would say, in order to minimize the effects that you potentially could have from donating, no more than once every 6 months. Okay,
Okay. Right.
so and and I have my guys, like, if they're going to do that, like, I'll check a ferritin like when they come in, just so I
Right.
know where we're at on that too. So
So what if you do what if your ferritin so let's do the two things. So you said thyroid and
thyroid,
ferritin levels, right?
thyroid, ferritin, and then a lifestyle assessment,
Oh, yeah.
and that also includes assessment for sleep apnea that could have developed over that time too.
Mm.
Sleep apnea can make you significantly tired throughout the day. Now, I usually would see this as a reflection with your H&H to some degree, but it can kind of be subtle. But yeah, that can be a cause too. Like if you magically develop sleep apnea, which can happen, um, then that will need to be addressed, and that can significantly improve how tired you are later in the day.
Right. Okay.
So,
So as far as the thyroid and the ferritin, is there supplements that you would take if you had an issue with one or the other?
so if the thyroid's grossly off, we'll treat your thyroid. Okay.
Okay.
So we may, I don't get into like the crazy amount of testing out the gate. If I'm just going to check a basic thyroid panel, I'll do TSH, free T4, free T3. That's it. Now, if those are like TSH is like 8, right? It's okay. I might check antibodies, thyroid peroxidase, check for Hashimoto's, and then we might want to try and work through that. But generally, all roads typically lead to um, replacement if that's the case. We use NDT, desiccated thyroid. There's some stuff going on about that now the FDA wants to classify that as a biologic, and that we won't have desiccated thyroid about a year from now.
Hmm.
Yep, that just
Really?
came out just this past month. Yeah, it's not a good thing. I personally like desiccated thyroid because if not, we'll have to use component therapy. So we'll have to manage with like Synthroid and liathionine, which is cytomel, T3 essentially. So T4, T3, whereas MP thyroid is both like straight in one
Right.
pill. Um, I like that for management in our clinic. I know a lot of other clinics do that too. But let's say if somebody has like a grossly hypoactive thyroid, then we can obviously replace it. And we treat to T3 values, and we try to get that low fours.
Mm.
I actually have a patient on thyroid, and it's funny, her PCP or her free T3 is like 4.4, which is money. It's like perfect. She feels great. And her PCP, I guess, checked a TSH, and her TSH is like incredibly low. It's like point, it's like 0.1. It's almost like undetectable. And she's like, you need to tell him that your thyroid is like, it's being replaced too much. And I'm just like, she messaged me, and I was like, you can tell her that your thyroid looks great.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that, because that's the signaler. It's not really like what's doing the work.
Right.
So we would check that. And then if I needed to go a little bit harder, we could check, like I said, the antibodies, reverse T3. Um, we should probably have somebody on to talk about that. I think I should get.
Yeah.
I have a really good person in mind that can
Okay. Good.
knows thyroid by the back of their hand. We should talk about that. I think that's because it does come up.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
that's probably overlooked a lot.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, it's on my yearly labs. So like the yearly labs, I check that in all my guys just to make sure that it's
Hmm.
rocking and rolling. But once you get optimized on testosterone and we start building muscle and living healthy, your thyroid falls in line pretty good if it's healthy. Um, so I generally don't have too many thyroid issues in men. Women tend to have a lot more thyroid issues
Yeah. That's
than
my
men.
wife.
So, yep. So
Yeah.
um, and then ferritin I also include in my yearly follow up as well. So
Okay. And
um,
that can be fixed with supplements, right?
yeah. So you might have to go on iron for a little bit,
Yeah.
so that'll be that. And we might have to adjust somebody's protocol slightly.
Mm.
So that you have to just keep that in mind. But yeah, there's things you can do. I prefer ferritin does not get below 45. That is not optimal by any means. And you might even say over 70 is probably even better, but 45 is like critically like that's when the flags start going off. Like we
Oh,
really don't want it any lower than
lower
that if
than
we can
that.
avoid it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think that answers that one. Here we go. I love this one. After some time, I've been on TRT for 3.5 years. After some time, I've all of a sudden lost my libido.
Hmm. Um, Again, libido, while estrogenic in nature, again, I think people overlook several aspects of their life, right?
Hmm.
Let me present a scenario here, right? Let's say you're busy at work and your job is very stressful and you have a kid's birthday party coming up this weekend and next week you have to go visit your in-laws and or whatever,
Right.
you're just bebopping all over the place, right? Do you think your libido is going to be really good during those 2 weeks?
No.
Probably not, right?
No.
If you go on an all-inclusive Caribbean vacation
Hmm.
and you have no worry in the world, do you think your libido is going to be good on that
I
vacation?
do.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
the neighbors are going to be hearing noises.
So my takeaway from here is don't overlook the importance of the stressors in your life, because
Hmm.
they will dramatically impact your libido. And you
Yeah.
know, it can be opportunity, right? I have people that have, like, maybe they're caring for like an older parent,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
there's no opportunity. So that opportunity, it's a libido killer. Like, you know, it just doesn't happen. Um, there is, you know, work stressors, right? I have a deadline to meet, or I have a big job coming up, or I have to travel and I don't really want to, or, you know, there's all these things. Don't overlook that as being a potential detriment to your libido. It's not always
Yeah.
the testosterone, and actually very seldom is it, especially people that have been on a good protocol for a period of time. That doesn't change,
Yeah.
but what does,
Right.
right? So
Yeah.
that's
No,
when you
I
have
mean,
to,
I have two cock blockers in my house. One's
right.
11 and one's 9.
Yeah, I got them in my house too.
Yep.
So, you know, it's that's what it is. So, you know, you have to be cognizant of that. I mean, and I'm not saying don't look at, um, you know, your testosterone value, make sure it's okay. I'm sure it probably would be if you've been on it for that long.
Yeah.
Um, but those are going to be the players into that. It's probably less of a biochemical process and more of a
Right.
mental, physical presence at that point.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, been on TRT for 3 years and always started out with 2 injections per week. The last couple months, I started to feel shitty a couple days before another injection. Do you think I should move to 3 injections?
The 2 to 3 injection a week thing comes down to crafting a protocol. So that should be between you and your provider. Hopefully, you have a good provider that
Yeah.
knows how to craft an appropriate protocol. Doesn't sound like it, but um, you know, there's a time to move people to a 3 day a week. There's a time to start people on 3 days a week. There's time to start people on 2 days a week. Um, there's even a time to maybe introduce daily for a period of time. I'm not a
Yeah.
fan of daily, but there may be an instance, few, very few, that they need to play a role generally to get somebody's metabolic health in order, i.e., their SHBG is trash, from lifestyle factors.
Hmm.
But that would be a daily person that may benefit from it. But you know, somebody with a super high SHBG may not benefit. Like, they would probably do very poorly with daily injections, because
Right.
it's not enough to create much symptom resolution, because it's just, you're not
Sure.
giving them enough to cause that suppression,
Right.
in order to create more free T. It's just sucked right up.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
so that's
Isn't
gonna depend on your lab work there, right, and
right.
your provider and how they can navigate that.
But
So,
is that a common thing where maybe after, so say, let's, in this guy's case, he's been on it for a couple years.
mhm.
I mean, is there times where you do have to adjust your protocols?
Yeah,
Some
it
guys has
happens.
to.
I mean, most people don't drastically change their lifestyle, in terms of their metabolic lifestyle, which are going to be factors that influence your SHBG. So
Hmm.
deficit. So if you have somebody that's dieting really hard, like, their SHBG can go way up, right?
Oh, yeah, I didn't even
So because now
think of
they're in a
that.
caloric deficit. So if you were eating and, like, all of a sudden you're like,
Huh.
now I'm intermittent fasting, or, you know, now I started a GLP or this, that, and the other, and you're trying to lose weight, yeah, that could have a impact on your SHBG and jack that
Hmm.
up. And the protocol that we're on now has to be adjusted to reflect this new lifestyle that you're in. So yes, there are things that need to be
Yeah,
adjusted
see,
as we move forward.
that's why you got to tell people when you're on peptides.
Yeah, I
Because
know.
that,
Like,
when you just said that, it's thought, fuck, that makes sense. Like,
yeah.
this dude could have just jumped on it, and
Hmm.
yeah, that makes
And
sense.
they're like, hey, all my, you know, all these influencers are on retatrutide, which,
Yep.
you know, it's like
Right.
the next coming of it. And but they don't realize what other system it may be impacting at the same
Hmm.
time. So
Damn, that's fucking, that just clicked as soon as you said that. I was like, son of a
yeah,
bitch, he could be, or he could be dieting, some
yeah.
kind of crazy diet.
So, or maybe you have somebody on the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Maybe, like, instead of using retatrutide, maybe they were like, oh, I got MK677. Now I'm eating
Oh,
everything in
jeez.
sight,
Yeah.
and now my SHBG is trash
Yeah.
because, you know, I just can't stop eating. Uh, there you go.
That's what everyone that takes it says too. Like, dude, I just
Yeah.
get, I'm just never satiated. I
The
just can
only
eat
time,
everything.
I've ever used MK67 or ibutamorin, the pharmaceutical equivalent to that, is I've used it twice. and I've used it in 2 individuals that were both underweight with super high SHBGs,
I
and it
remember you
worked.
saying about the one, he was a
Mhm.
younger guy, right? The one
Yep,
guy that was
younger
like
guy, and it
really,
worked awesome. Did
yeah.
so good. We got that SHBG down to a much more normal level. Free T values went up, and we gained 14 pounds in 3 months.
Damn.
Yep.
In 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, he was a wet noodle getting started. So like
Yeah.
14 pounds on him was like
Was,
probably that's like 15% of his body weight.
oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so like you
Yeah.
know,
That's crazy. If you
yeah.
think about that.
But it did a great job. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't going to run it forever, but till we achieved some goals and we're able to modify some lifestyle factors, right?
Speaking of MK, do you ever, when you're on TikTok or any social media and you see someone talk about it, always go to the comments and you'll just see 80% of the comments, people just like, save your money, eat more. That's what like
Yeah,
literally all
it's
the comments say.
it really, I mean, as a secretagogue, there's way better options. So like I don't even really know why it's used other than just to make yourself hungry at
Yeah.
this point. It just it's
It's
not worth it.
hilarious though when you see all the comments people like, and it's just like one comment after the other. I don't know if people just run it because like someone writes it, then they just write it, but
I
it'd be
think
like, save money,
it's a
eat more.
pill. Anything that's a pill tends to
Right.
be, front and center. I mean, i.e. enclomiphene,
Oh yeah.
i.e.
I was gonna.
MK, i.e. Rad 140.
Mm,
Anything that promotes benefit that's just you can swallow is always
sure.
front and center. So
Sure. And you don't want to inject it.
yeah,
Okay. So 4 months on TRT, and the doctor put me on. How do you say gonadorelin? Is that how you say that?
yeah, gonadorelin.
Gonadorelin to prevent testicular atrophy. Few weeks later, I started feeling really shitty, low libido, and ED. Did blood work. My doctor says my estrogen was too high. What are your thoughts?
So I don't use gonadorelin at all. Period. There's really, I tell you why it gets used. First off, it's touted as sort of an HCG replacement.
Right.
Okay, because gonadorelin is basically like synthetic. It's not, but it's basically functions like GnRH. Okay,
Oh,
so it's supposed to hit the pituitary to secrete LH and FSH. Okay, what happens when we're on testosterone? Do we secrete LH and FSH? Suppressed, right?
right.
So, this is why enclomiphene doesn't work on TRT. Um, we the gonadal suppression from the T affects you can't overcome it. And to date, I haven't seen labs to prove that. Even though people continue to do it, I have labs that show that it doesn't do anything. But
Mm.
nobody will show me labs of a really robust LH while on TRT.
Right.
I'm still waiting. So if you have it, please show me. I'd love to see it, but it has yet to be addressed. So so if you think of like LH and FSH, LH hitting our Leydig cells and FSH hitting our Sertoli cells, right? And providing that testicular function, gonadorelin would be the step above to cause that to go. The issue with it is has an extremely short half-life, okay? And two, doesn't overcome the suppression of the testosterone, much like how enclomiphene does. So it essentially does nothing. Okay. Now, why it would cause this particular individual to have those side effects, I'm not certain of, but it's essentially worthless. And the reason why it gets used is because HCG for a while was hard to come by.
Mm.
It did get moved. They moved it into territory where it couldn't be compounded. Thank you, HCG diet, for that. And
Wait, what's
and
HCG diet?
the HCG diet was a fad diet in like the late 2000s where people would take HCG, but then calorically restrict because doses of HCG can cause appetite suppression.
Mm.
Okay. So then what happened was this people were taking like a lot of HCG and then restricting their calories to 800 calories a day. And they were
What?
losing weight. Yeah. And it was causing a lot of problems. So that was probably one of the primary motivating factors to get rid of HCG in the marketplace, because it was like, think of HCG diet, like what it is sort of like the hype behind retatrutide now. That's
Uh,
exactly how it was like back in the day. So
Holy shit, 800 calories a day.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't think it's the HCG doing the work, but rather the 800 calorie restriction. But that's how it worked. But then HCG, I believe, got moved from a peptide to a biologic.
Mm.
Um, so that kind of like what they're looking to do to thyroid.
Right.
At least I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it basically became a lot of places that compounded HCG stopped doing it. The only place you could get it was from Pregnol, which is Merck's commercial
Hmm.
product. Okay. Um,
So
and I
is
believe,
that's when ganadorelin became popular, like at that
yeah, so
time?
they were trying to look at other ways to kind of offer this fertility atrophy thing. And so they started throwing in ganadorelin, but it's just like HCG. It's a piss poor replacement for something that, you know,
Yeah.
and to date, I don't have any evidence of it actually working.
Oh,
So
really?
no, none. But if you used it by itself, without testosterone, yeah, it'll boost your LH and FSH, but like not with
With
testosterone.
the,
That's
yeah.
that's that's the key here. And remember, they're giving it to you while you're on T to help with atrophy and blah 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 blah.
Hmm.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
So,
Boy, oh
but
boy.
it was just another way of them to sell you something that you didn't need.
Sure sounds like it.
Yep.
It's like
Seems to
a
be a
lot,
recurring theme
a
here.
lot of that going on. Okay. Let's see. Oh, this one I circled. I circled this one because I actually went through this myself. Don't have problems with erections, but losing sensation to be able to climax.
I've had that happen to several guys, myself included. I don't have a really robust answer for this. Um, but I will tell you the number one thing I would look at is prolactin.
Hmm.
Okay. And make sure that that's managed. And if your prolactin's fine, then you're probably okay with that. Um, Obviously, I don't check an estrogen, so it shouldn't be an issue. I mean, my estrogen's 35. So that's not an issue for me. My T is good. I think my trough free T was like 25 nanograms, which is perfect. Estrogen. And I only checked my estrogen to use for content. I didn't
Yeah.
really care what it was. I think we checked yours and I checked mine at the same
Yep.
time. I did my blood work. Yours was like what, 60,
60.
60,
Yep.
60 and a half or something like that. And mine was
Yeah.
35. So, um, whoop did he do? You know what I mean? But I don't really have a libido problem. But I will say that it does seem like it takes longer to get there,
Yeah.
to get to the finish line. It does seem like it takes a little bit. When that happens, I typically employ HCG as a rescue at that point in time. The other thing that you could check is DHEA, sulfated DHEA, and may need to look into DHEA supplementation to help with that.
Okay.
Not for everybody, but it could be. Um, but I have noticed that, and I've toyed around with it myself. It's better with HCG, but it's not perfect. So
Hmm.
I don't have a like tried and true answer for that
Way
one.
to fix.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'll put it this way, it seems to be highly individualized.
Yeah. But is it, I
So
mean, it sounds pretty common then. I mean,
I don't have a lot of guys in my clinic that have that issue. They don't.
yeah.
I have a few. Okay.
I'm sure
Not
there's
that
some
they
that don't say anything either.
well, the thing is, I don't think that they can't. It's just it takes longer,
Hmm.
and I don't think a lot of guys think of that as potentially detrimental. Um, but it can be for some guys.
Yes.
So.
So I always lasted long to begin with,
Mhm.
which for whatever reasons, because, you know, I have a fucked up head and my brain is going a million miles an hour.
That will play into it as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Like there'll be times I'm going at it and then it's like, fuck, did I order that Trex decking for that
Yeah.
deck? There goes
That
that.
I think you're kind of hitting the nail on the head here. Is your headspace has to be correct
Right.
in order to kind of focus on that, right?
Yeah.
If you're not really in the moment, you're not really in the moment,
Yeah.
and yeah, it can potentially take longer.
So I've
You
always
know,
been like that my whole life. So
I'll
then when
give
this got,
guys,
it
yeah,
like prolonged it much longer.
I will give guys a little tip here, and this is just from like my years in urology and everything. If that happens, and it does seem like it's taking forever, stop, disengage for like 5 to 10 minutes, and then re-engage.
Hmm.
Like let the heart rate come down, let everything cool off, and then restart. And then
Okay.
it's like hitting the reset button on the Nintendo. Like,
Yeah.
boop, and it just tends to work at that point.
You come back right at the point of the game where you left off.
Yeah. Well, no, you start again, but
Yeah.
now you've got, a little bit more, but let your mind cool down, let your body cool down, get your heart rate down, kind of gather yourself a little bit and just be like, let's take a breather, maybe go get a drink of water,
There you
whatever,
go.
cool. Just chill for a little bit. And, I tell you, it tends to work quite well. And you come back and you're like, bam.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's the problem is with kids is that usually you only get a certain amount of time. You don't get a break because someone is
and
hungry
that brings us back to the question that
or
we answered earlier. So
right. Like sons of bitches. It's
yeah.
like, yeah. Okay. So we got the, oh, so there are three more questions. Two of them I save for the end because I don't know if they're bots or not. They're
Okay.
kind of weird questions, but the one is definitely not a bot actually, because I actually talked back and forth with this guy. But this one here, obviously we need more. He only gave me very minimal stuff, but I don't know if we can, or if you can figure out from what he told us. He's 33 years old. His total T is 805. His
Okay.
estradiol is 25. His free T is 124.9. That's PGML.
Yeah, that'd have to be picograms.
Yeah. But doctor says everything is good and within range, but he has all of low T symptoms that he can find on the internet. He suffers from all of them.
Okay. Um, that seems to be quite vague.
Right. That's all I left out. So I was like, wow, I can kind of.
And he's 33. Here's the thing. I'm not saying that like that can't happen. Obviously we have a big player missing in lab work there, which I'm sure you know what that is, that we get on
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Um,
There's no SHBG.
Yep.
There's free T, SHB. Well, they did estradiol, of course.
Yeah. There's no LH.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So we don't know if the brain's,
Well, the other
signaling
thing
down there,
is
or how well it is.
how tall and how much does this guy weigh?
Right. We don't have a mass.
Maybe, there's a lot of questions in this.
Sure. I mean, a
question.
guy that's, 5'6", 140 pounds doesn't need as much testosterone as a guy that's, 6'3", 240.
Right.
Like,
And that
you
could
just
be.
don't. Like, they're not going to be on the same protocol. I would not start them on the same.
Yeah.
And I will say this too. I mean, I have seen where people say I have X, Y, and Z symptoms because they just want to go on testosterone. Because
yeah, I believe that.
what I mean, and it's like, and then you see it and you're like, really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, do you really
I
have these
believe that for
symptoms, or
sure.
are you just
Yeah.
saying it because like you want to get jacked?
Yeah, I want to get jacked for the summer.
And don't get me wrong, like you can certainly put on a good amount of muscle with testosterone. I'm testament to that. I put on 34 pounds of mass this past year alone.
Yeah.
Just with TRT, HCG that I use, and a couple peptides sprinkled very tastily throughout that year, but nothing crazy, and that's it. And I've put on a lot of mass, but a lot of as we talk about it all, diet and workout, and that's really the two. Like, yeah, the TRT helped me get to that point, and I'm the biggest mass wise I've ever been in my life, but I wouldn't have got there without the work ethic or the
right
increased protein in my diet that I've dramatically changed from when I went going into it. So those are the two major players there for certain. So my discipline's much, much better than what it was.
Yeah.
But no, to get back to that, I mean, when you say you have like everything under the book, it's like number one is always a lifestyle assessment. And like, I know it's kind of like this overarching thing of this particular question thing. It seems that I keep going back to lifestyle, but it's like, okay, are you up all night playing video games and drinking Mountain Dew and like have no physical activity, and you vape and you smoke weed, or you do this, that, and the other, and you're like, I have all these symptoms. Well, do you think like you're living a life that's conductive of
exactly of
like
a healthy
optimal
lifestyle?
health, right?
Right. Exactly.
No, and so like it's going to be reflective of that. Like, do you ever see the movie Super Size Me? It came out like where the guy
that guy died.
Did he die?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, he died.
Holy crap. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to go down that rabbit hole tonight. But
yeah,
I remember when that movie came out, and I remember that he started eating like McDonald's every day,
yeah,
and he starts to become like dependent on it. And you can see like in the movie or in the documentary, like how like kind of he becomes because he's basically living this lifestyle of eating crap food, low activity. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And we can't use that as a basis to be like, well, I have X, Y, and Z symptom. Well, I mean, testosterone, like you say, it's not a panacea. It doesn't fix everybody's problems. It can certainly help them in men that are hypogonadal, but if I gave it to somebody that doesn't have those symptoms, they're not really going to get much out of it. Um,
yeah,
or they're going to not have this perception that it's really doing anything. So, I wouldn't come in saying like I have these symptoms and you really don't. You're probably not going to get much out of it.
right.
Um, so it to me it seems like a moot point, but maybe to them, who knows? But also thorough lifestyle evaluation, you know, all the assessments on that, like what are you doing for sleep? What are you doing for diet? What are you doing for activity? What are you doing for leisure? How much screen time do you have? I mean, it's
Mm.
kind of like talking to a little kid, like all these
No,
things, but
right, but it's
but
true
it, but
though.
it is right, and increasingly we're getting into we're dealing with these younger men that
Mm.
grew up in this Gen Z, and they didn't have like you and I had as kids, right? Where
Right.
we were going and we didn't spend all day on video games. We were outside,
Hmm.
and I'm not don't get me, I'm not painting all Gen Z into that corner. I'm just
Right.
saying as a whole,
Right.
technology was more part of their upbringing and became more of their social sphere than what it was for us.
Right.
Okay. And because of that, it's created behaviors that have now transcended and now X, Y, and Z, and then they just don't think to change them. So be cognizant of that, recognize it, try to make a change, see if that fixes the problem, right? Because, for example, when we were that age, did we have any of those issues?
No,
No,
exactly.
right? But we didn't live that lifestyle either,
Right.
you know?
That's why when
So
I say all the time about like with these guys that are in their early 20s, mid 20s, write something about it, and I think to myself, dude, that was 20 years ago for me.
right,
Like no one I knew had any of those
right.
problems. Like everyone was,
I mean,
flying a
how
million miles an hour.
right? I mean, did you cook growing up? Like, were you did you cook like when you lived on your own, or did you eat kind of just like junk?
Kind of like half and half.
Half and half, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think hardly anybody cooks anymore, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like I cooked a lot because that was like my first thing.
You're-
Like I wanted to be a chef the whole night. So
Yeah.
I cooked a ton. But I cooked because I liked to eat. And I wanted to eat like something I wanted to eat, not something that like I could just go
Somebody.
buy at the
Right.
store, right? So I would always make really good food for myself.
Yeah.
And you know, but if you just eat ramen noodles and cookies and frozen meals all the time,
Right. No, that's true.
yeah,
You said something earlier, Josh. I want to touch back on as the age. I just was talking to someone yesterday about they were asking me about TRT.
hmm
He was a sub for on the job, and I don't know how it came up or whatever, and we started talking about it. And he was like, he used to do tests when he was younger, and then he stopped, and now he's older than I am. He's probably like in his 50s, and he was just like, what do you think I should do? And I was like, dude, in all honesty, it's it's better to do tests now than it ever is when you were younger.
Oh,
And
I would
he's like,
agree.
why? I'm like, because you don't have the same like my mindset is totally different. Like
Yeah.
if like I got to get 8 hours of sleep, I just go to bed.
hmm
Like there's not like, oh man, the bar or the game or
Sure.
whatever. I'm just like, I don't give a
Well,
fuck. I
you did
just go
that
to bed.
podcast with the guy the other week that was talking about what was it, like the warrior,
Oh,
to like how your mindset changes based
stretch.
on
Yeah. Yep.
the and
Yeah.
he hit
Warrior
the nail
to
on the head
king.
there, right? And he it was great. I like the analogy. But what you value in life changes as you age,
Right.
right? Like you get to a point where you're not trying to chase the corporate ladder anymore. Now you want to just kind of hands off, back up, I don't want as much responsibility. I don't
Right.
want all the shiny things. I don't want all this stuff because it means more work, and time is more valuable to me at this point than money.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
But when you're younger, you've got time, but you want money. So you
Yeah.
exchange it for both. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
just different life eras. And so to this, case in TRT, yeah, it's much better in men that are older. And it's for a myriad of reasons. It's, what you want out of life is now really longevity and stability.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you don't need all this. Like, yeah, you want to have some physical presence. Yeah, you probably want to have some energy like what you did when you were younger to enjoy the things that you now have time to do, right? And that's really what it is getting guys back on the horse to allow them to experience that. And it's more meaningful later
Yeah.
on in life than it is when you're younger,
Yeah.
because it's
That's
not
what,
go go go. It's just
right.
I just want to go
Right. I
in
think you
general.
get more out of it just because of like your, well, first of all, you have money, like you're able to afford
Yeah,
good food. You
right.
have, like my wife cook, like it's just, but just your whole way of thinking.
Yeah, your
You know what I mean? Like
perspective
if my
changes.
wife called and was like, "Hey, the kids are, you know, away or whatever," and I had to work out, I would be like, "Yeah, well, after my workout, well, I'll be up." You know what I mean? Like I'm
Right.
not skipping. I'm like, dude, we've done this 12 million times. Like it's
Yeah.
not like I'm not skipping this for that. Now, me when, I was running with Hooters girls, they would be like, "I'm off work." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm at the gym. I'm leaving now. I'll meet you in 5 minutes." Like
Yep.
that's, you know what I mean? It was like,
Yep.
fuck lifting. I'll just lift tomorrow. And then we
Right.
would drink that night and the weekend, you carry on and do all kinds of stupid
Absolutely.
shit. None of that stuff exists anymore. You just don't, you prioritize things better, like, sleep and
Yep.
eating healthy and all, and then it starts to snowball. So that's what I was trying
It
to
does.
explain to him. I'm like, dude, you get more benefits out of it now than you ever do when you're in your 20s because
Absolutely.
you're a fucking idiot. We're all 20s. We're
Yep.
dumb, stupid. I mean, that's what, chasing girls, whatever, like just living life that
Well, and when
all,
we
you
talk
only
about it,
live once.
it's the back end benefits that you get from this stuff from the things that start to decline as you age, right? Bone density, muscle loss, um, you know, fat gaining,
Hmm.
the things that happen, due to low T/low estrogen values. These are all things that don't equate into longevity at all. So if we're looking at, okay, how many years do I have left on this earth at that point? Because mortality, I mean, they
Yeah.
don't call it a midlife crisis because they call it a midlife crisis because basically you have like this is my mortal moment. Like I
Hmm.
only have X amount of time here, and I got to make some changes because I don't like the direction I'm going in. And
Right.
who knows? Maybe I'm going to enjoy something because maybe I only got 10, 15 years left, right?
Right.
But the idea behind this is to keep your remaining years as high quality as possible, right?
Yes.
And we know the things that can increase your longevity. So having higher amount of muscle mass on your frame relative to your size increases your longevity. There was a study on thigh circumference, I believe. The bigger your thigh muscle was,
Hmm.
the equated into longevity. The testosterone increases your VO2 max. So
Hmm.
what
Yeah.
theoretically that you're capable of output increases. And by doing that and being active and being physical will increase your VO2 max. We know that that is directly related to longevity and a decrease in chronic disease development. So these are all things that are net positives that we have as we age. Better bone density. We can hold muscle longer. And the idea is as we age decade after decade, we are no longer becoming frail elderly. We are becoming elderly that is mobile, that is functional, and can
Right.
get around as well as we did in our 60s, as well as we can in our 90s. And that's kind of the goal behind this. So, yes, it is more impactful as we age because, like you said, the mindset changes, but those back end changes become very important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's eventually he might even be calling you
Cool.
because he wasn't there. They're done. They were only there for a few days. I gave him your information because he obviously lives around me. Um, and I told him, and he was like, "Yeah, that makes a lot of sense."
Yeah.
He's like, because he's like, he goes, "Dude, in all honesty, when I was in my 20s, I was just trying to get chicks." He's like, "That's why I was doing it." I was like, "Yeah, no shit, so was I." It just
Yeah.
didn't get do steroids, but we were all thinking the exact same thing. Just we just went about it a different way.
It
You know what I
tends to
mean?
be a lot of reasons I think why guys search the androgens because they want the body. But
Yeah.
I one of these podcasts we do in the future, I want to have my data. I actually have data of people that have used some androgens and people that are just on TRT, and I actually have better body compositions on some people that are on TRT that have used steroids on and off for over a decade.
No shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, it's
That's
not you
cool.
don't have to brute force some things. Sometimes you just got to be
Yep.
more
That's true.
efficient,
That's exactly right.
and be finesseful and just have a little bit more discipline, and
Yep.
it's all you need.
Efficiency works every time over brute force.
Yes,
Well,
it
that's not
does.
true. Sometimes brute force is needed, but in the
Yeah.
long run,
I mean, I probably would rather have the 1,000 horsepower car than the 450 horsepower car if I could, you know.
correct.
So brute force would win in that one, but
Yes. Yeah. But that's just a quarter mile. You're going to need
that's
efficiency
true if you have
to do
to go around,
400 laps.
or if you have to go around turns.
Right.
So
Right. That's
therein
exactly
comes
it.
your
So if you're doing a quarter mile, you want brute force. Efficiency is 400 laps.
yeah. You got to
Right.
pick your right horse for your job.
Yep. That's exactly it. All right. Two more. These are our, I don't know if they're bots or not, but the last one I think is absolutely a bot. But do you think the government wants low T men because they are easier to control? Dude,
Hmm.
honestly, I've heard this. And my own personal opinion is I think every single government wants people to control. Like
Yeah,
that's,
I don't
you know,
necessarily
I
know
don't
if that
think
would be
it's
their angle,
right. I don't think they're
but
going about it by poisoning people like to
sure.
give them low testosterone. But if there is a problem with low testosterone, do I think the government's going to step in and help out, or they're going to, knee on your back a little more? I think they're going to
Yeah.
knee in the fucking back a little more.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you see that now. I mean, look with the current status of just general healthcare, right?
Hmm.
It's untenable. Something's going to happen in the next 5 years. I guarantee it. Um, I mean, I saw this years ago. It's why I left, because it's becoming so unsustainable that you know uh, something's going to have to
You mean
majorly
like the
change in that
system
industry.
itself, like with
Oh
medical?
yeah,
Yeah.
everything. That's just the way it functions.
Mm.
It's so messed up. The whole insurance, you know, I'll put it this way: like I'm not for socialized medicine, but it makes so much more sense than the current system we have,
Yeah.
because up to a point, right? Up to a point. Um, but I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm that's above my pay grade.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I can exploit all the inefficiencies that exist, as to what it is, but I don't have any answers on how to fix it, because what they've done is essentially painted a wall 100 times,
Mm.
right? So instead of like, I'm going to take the paint off and put a new coat of paint on, we've just painted over the previous
Right.
layer of paint, right? So that's literally what healthcare is. It's like we've had a rule or we've had a law, and instead of like dismantling it, we've just added to it. So
Mm.
then everything's get added and added and added and added. Before you know it, you've got 100 different coats of paint on the wall, right?
Yeah.
So you can't really strip that off at this point.
They're
You're
following like
you
the government fucking, that's what we have
right,
with laws and everything. They just keep
right.
adding
So
and
the
adding
only thing
without
you can do is
taxes.
rip the freaking wall, demo the whole wall, and
Hmm.
rebuild the wall, right, and paint from scratch. So that's kind of what we're getting to, and it's, I think, going to happen sooner rather than later. So
Yeah.
it's just, financially, it's just
Yeah. I,
unsustainable from
I,
where
I
it's at.
do know a lot of people, not our doctor, but I know a lot of people that their doctor has gone to private and they pay them like, I don't know, X amount of dollars. I don't know the exact number, but I know it's like a good amount of money every
I mean,
year.
doctors today, I'll put it this way: doctors today, people think they make a lot of money. Go back to see what a doctor made in the 80s or the 90s. Way more money than what they make today.
Oh, really?
Oh my gosh, dude, doctors back then were like kings. They would have planes.
No shit.
Oh my god, yeah. They actually, what was it, the V wing? They called it the doctor killer.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's a VTAL. I'm sorry, the VTAL aircraft, doctor killer. The Beechcraft Bonanza, also known as the Doctor Killer, gained its nickname due to a series of accidents involving wealthy, often less experienced pilots. While the V-tailed design was unique, the accidents were largely attributed to pilot error rather than inherent flaws in the aircraft's design. And the reason it got labeled that is because a lot of doctors were wealthy and took up
No shit.
flying a plane as a hobby. Yeah. You don't see that anymore because doctors have money to buy planes.
Yeah.
So, but that's how it used to be. And that's how
Huh.
they got that reputation. So,
No shit.
yeah. So while doctors get paid, let's say, I want to say $300,000 is probably, it depends on what you do. And people are like, that's a lot of money. There's also a lot that goes into that. I mean, they're going to be saddled. If you're an American
Yeah.
born, American
Their
trained
their
physician,
fucking college debt alone is
500,000 plus in debt.
Jesus.
Easy, easy. And you don't make money in residency. I mean, doctors in residency get paid peanuts to what they make in private practice. So you get paid, I don't know, 70 to 100K, depending on where you're at. And also, residency slots are limited. That's another thing they have to fix. If they want to get more doctors into the workforce, they need to increase residency slots because they're primarily CMS mediated. There are a few private ones that are funded by larger universities or whatever, but Medicare and Medicaid primarily fund residencies, and they have not increased, I think, since the late 90s.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Really?
Yep. And they don't pay hardly anything at all. So like I think like a family practice resident may only get like 70,000 a year for like 3 years. Okay, it's something, right? But I mean, then you think like a family practice doctor is probably making around 200 to 250,000 a year, right?
Yeah.
So it's the salary goes up exponentially based on that work. So
Huh.
and it's the same for like surgeons, like a urologist resident maybe gets 90K. You know what I mean? To work
Right.
80 hours a week.
Yeah. But then you got
And
a $500,000 fucking,
$500,000 in debt and don't start
yeah.
till you're 33-ish, right?
Oh, it's not
I mean,
fun.
no, and so I get it, right? I get they're putting the time in, it's so I think they deserve their pay. I really do. Because they've already sacrificed 12 plus years of their life to school.
Hmm.
You don't want to spend all that time in training and then not be well compensated for it. But
Right.
um, it's you're right. I think doctors are finally leaving because the compensation's going down and the workload's going up.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. All right. Our final question, and probably my favorite question of all time. It's actually a statement and a question.
okay.
The statement first. I love TRT. It changed my life. Then the question. Do you think aliens are real?
So we were
Fuck
just chatting
yes.
about that beforehand. I'm
Yes.
listening to that Joe Rogan podcast now with Anna
Yes.
Paulina Luna where she's talking about that, and I don't know what to believe, man. It's you get information from all over, but I will say I think more now about because that stuff fascinates me. Like the whole when they talk
Oh,
about AI or aliens or like I'm like locked in because I'm a huge like science fiction fan. So
fuck
like
yeah.
to me, that's like you got me. Let me listen to it, and I want to hear. But just the stuff that she's, I'm only about 30 minutes into that podcast, but just listening to like what she's saying and what they actually have evidence of that's
Hmm.
been released at least. Um, you know, uh, who knows? It certainly seems plausible, right? Or
Yeah.
that there's some type of technology, and
Correct.
I think she brought up really early too is like if there is technology that's here, it could be so advanced that we just don't even understand it yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like maybe they have it, but they haven't been able to reverse engineer it because we just have no fucking idea how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
So it's quite possible.
Right. I think just the size of the universe and everything, that there's probably other
Sure.
life that's probably millions of years, who knows how much older than us, more advanced than us. Also, from personal experience, I was like 12 or 13 years old, and I lived not far, probably a half a mile away from a Lockheed Martin
Okay.
complex where they built all kinds of, I think they built satellites and stuff at that exact place. And one night we're walking up to bed. My dad was in front, or my dad was already upstairs. Let me start this over. He was in my sister's room. My sister's room faced where Lockheed Martin was. Now I spent my entire life in the woods back there. That was all there, like my entire life. So
Okay.
my dad's like, I'm coming up the steps. He's already up there. And he says, what the hell is that red light there? Did they put a tower up? And I look and I'm like, I don't think so. Like we've been over there. I'm like, maybe it's a new tower. I don't know. I've never seen it. I'm like, I've never seen a red light there, but it looked like a kind of like a tower. It wasn't blinking. It was just a red light that was there. Right.
Hmm.
So we're looking at it. 30 seconds later, another one, like a one comes on like next to it, right? And I'm like, we're like, what the fuck? Like, so then my dad's like, there must be like a tower that they just built and they're like turning the lights on, right? Because I'm trying to like fucking register what
Sure.
this thing is, right? And I'm just like, yeah, okay, I don't know. I guess that's what they did. I'm like, I didn't see a fucking tower, but maybe there is. I don't know, maybe it's on the roof. I don't fucking know. So another, 30 seconds, minute later, whatever it is, a third one lights up, right? So just as the third one lights up, 10 seconds later, they all three shoot to the sky. Like you could just see like a trail of
Wow.
light. So then me and my dad were like, what the fuck? Now, at the time, we looked at each other and we're like, well, fucking obviously that's aliens. Now, at the time, like the time it is now, looking back then, it was a drone, a
Hmm.
fucking you see what I'm saying? And like,
Yeah.
or
Now,
something like a
now
drone.
you've been exposed to the technology and it
Correct.
makes more
And you got
sense.
to figure, I was like 12 or 13. Now I'm 46. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like that thing, like it was now when I think about for years, I was like, dude, I saw a fucking alien. Like, it's like I saw an alien spaceship. It was trying to
Hmm.
probe my ass, and like the stories got crazy as I would drink. And, but looking back now, like where we are now, it definitely was some kind of drone or some kind of, you know, a definitely advanced fucking something. I
Yeah.
would guess military related. I don't know, but it probably wasn't little fucking green men.
No, I don't think we're going to be in the area of like Mars attacks with little dudes running around with
Yeah,
zappers. You know what I
right.
mean? But
But for a good point of my life, I thought that that was because what I don't. How else did you explain it?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I don't.
Who the
I don't
fuck
think
ever
we'll
heard of a
ever. I
drone
don't think
or
we'll ever know. It's
no?
here we
Unless
are. We're
they
just left with speculation.
unless
It's
they just
entertaining.
fucking yeah. If there is, just land at the fucking Eagles game. There's no question about it. Just drop right on the 50-yard line and be like, "Yep, we're here."
I mean, there's certainly some truths that you can extrapolate from all that, and at least from like the podcast, is that there's a consensus that there obviously is, excuse me, something happening, right? Um, whether or not there's evidence on mass of that, but even historically, there's been evidence of these type of events happening throughout history, you know,
Right, right.
and one way or another that they kind of like match up, right?
Hmm.
Um, but what it all means, I don't think anybody really knows. It's sort of, I know in that interview they're talking about interdimensional stuff where like you
Yes,
can kind of and that adds a whole different layer of
yes.
fuckery to
So
the whole situation.
I
So,
listened to that podcast on Friday on my way to Ocean City, Maryland,
uh
and then I listened to it again on my way back on Sunday. So I listened to it twice because everyone in my so when we drive, nobody likes Joe Rogan. None
okay.
of my kids. So they have their headsets on and their iPads, and my wife can't stand podcasts. So she has a thing on. So I literally just have the fucking. It's just dead silent. It's just me listening, just
Yeah, I love that
cruising
stuff
down,
too. I
ripping down the
listen to that.
fucking road at 90 miles an hour, just loving life. But yeah, conspiracy stuff I can listen to and watch all day.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that stuff ended up, like MK Ultra ended up being real.
Oh, a
So
lot of it ends up being real.
a lot of it does end up being real, and you're kind of, thought to be this tinfoil hat, and in reality, it's not that you're made to think that the thought you have is a conspiracy, right? But the idea behind it sounds so logical, right? Like the moon landing, right? That's a big conspiracy,
Hmm.
but logically, you could see how maybe we didn't do it.
Right.
It does make a lot of sense. I mean, like, why haven't we gone back? Where are all the tapes? Like, there's all this like stuff that if it really truly
Yeah.
happened, just wouldn't have happened, right?
Yeah.
Like it would, you know
Correct.
what I mean? It
That's
doesn't
what
vibe.
the misinformation and disinformation is what
Yeah.
kind of because like they're so good at it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like if I came out and called the news and said I saw these red lights, you know what I mean? And like they went up into the space. They were spaceships, like
Right.
and what year was it? 19 when I was 12. Let's see, 79, 89. So what's
Like
that?
early 90s.
91?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah. So um, they would have been like, okay, this kid's obviously a lunatic. Like
Hmm.
he's obviously nuts. But there was something there. You know what I mean? But like that's the way they make it. So if you do say something, That's why people usually don't. Like the propaganda, or not the propaganda, but the machine has
Right.
got it so tuned that it's like, they make you seem like you're a lunatic.
Yeah. And
So
you should always trust your gut and you should always trust logic. If what you know to be true is true, then you should stick by that, right?
yeah,
And don't let somebody else make you think you're crazy when you know you're not crazy.
yes.
Don't be gaslit.
Don't be gaslit is exactly it. I think that's a good way to end it. And just to reiterate, I believe this last question, I would like to say TRT changed my life as well, and I do believe in aliens. So that's it. So yes and yes to that question.
Badoom.
Yeah. And if anyone else has got any questions about aliens, conspiracy theories, TRT, Skinwalker Ranch, send them over. We
Getting
could,
deep.
yeah, I could go all day. So, all
It
right,
is a
Josh.
fascinating topic, though. So
Oh, it's fantastic. I can go.
yeah,
I could do a podcast just on that, just every day of my life talking about that shit.
yeah,
All of that stuff. I like. I love it.
very
So,
fascinating.
all right, Josh. I got to get everyone to bed. We're starting to train for school.
Yeah, we have
Everyone's
that's
gonna go to
tomorrow
bed
too.
for school.
Yep.
Well, my kids don't start until Tuesday after Labor Day. I know a
I'll be
bunch of
up at
kids
6
go
a.m.
back.
tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Do they
Yep,
go? They're going to school.
tomorrow, first
They
day.
they start tomorrow.
Yep.
No shit. I think the public school kids go next week, I think, right?
I really wish public school was the week after Labor Day, and
Wasn't it
and
always the week, like the
when
Tuesday
I
after
grew up in
Labor Day?
Virginia, so I lived in we lived my dad was in the Navy, so I grew up in Virginia Beach. I lived there from like preschool to pretty much fourth grade, and then we moved away. But no, we always went to school there after Labor Day.
Right.
And then when I moved back up to like Pennsylvania, like later on, they started earlier. But the thing was, it's like I would already be started in grades and like their cutoff. So my birthday is at the end of this month. Okay. And they didn't start till so I just turned 5 and then started
Oh,
school. Right.
right.
But then up here, I would have been like 4,
Right.
you know what I
Right.
mean? And then we would have started and I would have turned 5. So like
Yeah.
it was really awkward. Because like everybody in my grade, I was like really young for my grade,
Yeah.
like when I moved up here.
I can't, I thought, I mean, I knew a bunch of people that went to Catholic school in high school, and I swear we all started school and ended school at the same time.
Mhm.
Like I'm certain we all started school after Labor Day. Like I
Yeah.
know for a fact because people would have been like, "Are you out of your fucking mind? Like it's still summer." Um, and then maybe like the end of the year might have been a couple days different, but
Yeah.
like maybe we got out on Tuesday, they got out on Thursday, or vice versa, but never before. I don't remember
Yeah.
or
I
how
don't
that
think
started.
having like if you started school after Labor Day and then used Memorial Day as like the kickoff, so like end like
Yeah,
right before Memorial Day, like the week of, and then you have like Memorial Day weekend to start your summer. I
fuck
think
yeah,
that's great. And I really don't think that adding like an extra 2 weeks or 3 weeks during the school year
dude. The last couple
probably
weeks of
changes a
school,
whole
they
lot.
just dick around and watch. Like once they take their finals, it's like dick around time.
I know, but
Just call it. And my kids do like 4 days at the end of the year of like 2 hours a day. I'm like, why don't we just fucking wrap this bitch up in one 8 hour day and say fucking see you next year? No, we got to do it for. I'm like, oh, that sounds smart.
stop speaking logic.
Yeah, like fuckers. All right, Josh, we're gonna wrap this up. I will
Cool.
talk to you later, bud.
Sounds good.
See ya.
See ya.